Phillipsburg Land Use Board Meeting, December 16th, 2021. The only modification in this video is David Morset's comments are not in the video due to the comments not coming out in the recording.
Okay, I'm calling this meeting to order. Adequate notice of this regular public meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by posting a notice on the bulletin board in the municipal building, by publishing in the Express Times and the Star Ledger, the official papers of the town of Phillipsburg, by posting notice on the website of the town of Phillipsburg, filing said notice with the town clerk of Phillipsburg, as well as furnishing said notice to those people requesting it pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act. As advertised, actions may be taken at this meeting. Okay. The board policy is the policy of the town of Phillipsburg Land Use Board is not to hear any new cases after 10 p.m. and no new witnesses after 10:30. Mr. Mayor, do you have the flag?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Kelly, would you take attendance, please?
Mr. Benjavenga, I know he's trying to get on. He's on the road and he has bad connection, so he might not be able to get on tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Brotzman.
Here.
Mr. Duffy.
Here.
Council Vice President Fulper. Mr. Hannasek.
Here.
Mr. Penrose.
Here.
Mayor Tresigny.
Here.
Mr. Turnbull.
Here.
Mr. Swicker. I saw him. We can't hear you, Keith.
Can you turn up your volume, Keith?
Right now.
He's here.
Okay. Mr. Austin.
Here.
Mr. Rooney.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And
There are no resolutions. Completeness. Gerard Holding Company LLC, 246 Morris Street, Block 808, Lot 31.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. William Mddleston representing JOAR Holding LLC. This matters for consideration before the board this evening for preliminary and final major site plan, as well as a use variance in connection with an application that seeks to add up to 5 used motor vehicles for display and sale at the site in question, which is located on Morris Street. I believe our engineer, Mr. Nusser, is also present this evening to address comments in the review report dated December 14, 2021. So therefore, I don't know if you want him qualified again, Scott. He has testified before this board on several other occasions as an expert in the field of civil engineering. But if you want his qualifications on the record, he can certainly give those now.
I don't believe it's necessary. I'm just going to ask that you forward me his CV later on, and we will make that exhibit number 1 for this application, Ms. Leffler.
Okay.
All right, that being said, maybe we could have Mr. Nusser sworn and we can go through the report from Van Cleef.
Mr. Nusser, oh, there you are.
I'm here. Yep.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this matter will be the truth to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Chris, in connection with the application before the board this evening, you are familiar with the plans that have been submitted, are you not?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can you just give a brief overview of the site? And then we can perhaps go into the review report for completeness for preliminary and final.
Sure. So the site is on the corner of Moore Street and Raymond Street. It is a 9,365 square foot lot. It has an existing two-story masonry building on the site. That has existed, for my review of aerial photographs, since at least 1955. The site as it stands is 100% impervious, with parking in front and parking also in the rear. That impervious surface, again, per my review of aerials, gets a little fuzzier when you get looking at impervious than a building. But at least 1981, it's clear that the site has been impervious, paved all around. Currently, the site operates with an auto repair shop. The sign out front is Oops Auto, as well as a couple of apartment units within the building that exist. That's just a brief overview of what the site is today. What's proposed is to, as Mr. Edelstein said, to relocate their auto sales operation that they have in another municipality to the site. It's a small operation, and obviously we'll get into the details to the board at a public hearing of how that operates, how that would operate on site. But it's not a large operation by any means, and it's a by appointment only operation. Looking at the memo dated, let's see, what is the date? December 14th, from Van Cleef, going through the completeness. Stan, I see you down there, and I have my map back for you specifically. Made sure I was here. It appears to me that predominantly, obviously, we're asking for quite a number of waivers when it comes to the site plan checklist, both preliminary and final. This isn't a minor site plan given the size of the building, so it's a preliminary and final site plan, but it's a fun preliminary and final site plan where we're not actually proposing to do any site improvements. Understanding that the board or Mr. Schreck may give us comments to the contrary, asking us to make some improvements. None are proposed at the present time. So therefore, there are quite a number of waivers that we're requesting for items that are normally provided when you're going to propose to construct something. And again, we're not. Again, I think predominantly within Mr. Schreck's letter, he's either recommending the waivers or asking us to provide testimony at the hearing. I think the one that we need to confirm is the first one on page 2, which is in the general submission checklist, the taxes and assessments, making sure that that's current, which sure they are, they would be before we would get to the actual public hearing. But otherwise, I don't see any other items that would be required to be submitted ahead of a meeting. Stan, do you disagree with that assessment?
No, just let me be clear for the record here. You see in our report that we discussed waivers and temporary waivers. Temporary waiver is an indication that the applicant, if they agree and the board agrees, the applicant will provide the information either by testimony or in advance of the or during the public hearing once this is deemed complete. Permanent waivers will we're passing on that requirement for the application to be complete. So we'll go through the checklist now, and you'll see temporary waivers and permanent waivers. Just want to make that definition clear.
Understood, and I think I took no objection to the items that you listed as temporary waivers and the information you were requesting in there. We're certainly able to provide that testimony or additional information as necessary.
Okay. If that's the case, Scott, should we just concentrate on the permanent waivers? Other items I'll be providing information.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, this is just completeness, so that works.
Okay, let me take it from here, Chris.
Go ahead, go for it.
On page 3 of our report, item C, a waivers requested that would be for the location of all buildings, drainage and parking areas within 200 feet of the proposed construction. As there's no proposed construction on the site proposed, we feel that that's not necessary, and we're recommend that the board grants a waiver from that, a permanent waiver from that requirement. The next item on the same page, on page 3, is item F, and it's very similar. They're looking for the checklist requires information and dimensions of all improvements within 100 feet of the site. We feel that's not necessary either, as the site's fully developed, and would recommend a permanent waiver be granted for that.
Stan,
Yes.
it's Kelly. If Jane can please mute herself, because I hear her in the background. And it's Jane.
Could everyone please mute themselves?
Hello? Hello,
Thank you. Hello?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're good now.
Okay,
Sorry, there was background and I could just hear that person talking.
this is Bernie Rooney. I'm on my phone.
Okay. Go on, Stan.
All right, thank you. I'll pick up on page 4, item H, very similar to the earlier requirements. It's looking for plans and profiles of the street adjoining the property within 500 feet of either direction. The site's fully developed. There's no construction required. We recommend that waiver be granted as a permanent waiver. The next we'll look at is on the final site plan submission, and looking for a waiver for location types of existing proposed catch basins and storm facilities and profiles within the system with inadequacy. Once more, let me read that once more time. Plan include or accommodate the following data: the location, type, and size of existing proposed catch basins and storm drainage facilities with profiles thereof, plus adequate design data to support. Applicants ask for a waiver on that. They'll show the existing drainage, but we don't feel it's necessary to show profiles as we're not constructing new or proposing new drainage.
What page was that on, Stan?
That's on page 5. That's
Okay.
on page 5, I'm sorry. And
That's
also
okay.
on page 5, item G, very similar under the preliminary checklist, is for improvements within 100 feet on either side of the application. We're not proposing any new construction. We don't believe that's necessary. And the remainder of our comments are all temporary waivers, which the applicant will provide by either testimony or by future submittals to the board. So accordingly, I recommend that the board would grant permanent waivers for item C, which is checklist 51011C3H for drainage and parking within 200 feet of the proposed construction. Item F, 51011-C3L, plans, profiles, sidewalks, drainage within 100 feet of the site, permanent waiver. And H, plans and profiles of the street within 500 feet of the site. And under final submission checklist, permanent waiver for our item F, which is 51011D30. It's the drainage and profiles within the site. And that would be all of the permanent waivers asked for. The remainder of the items on our checklist review are all temporary waivers, of which the applicant will provide the information for the public hearing.
Christopher, do you have any comments towards that?
No, I think that's, like I said, it's for the majority of those comments, it's testimony for us to provide to the board at the upcoming hearing.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions? Okay. I'm going to ask for a motion for the permanent waivers that stand.
No.
Nope.
A motion.
That's next time?
Yeah, motion for completeness.
Motion for completeness. Do I have a motion for completeness?
Motion.
Mr. Mayor, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
John Penrose, okay. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Mr. Edelstein, is there anything else?
Nothing this evening. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you,
Good
everybody.
evening.
Welcome. Chris, you can put your map away for a month.
Sounds good. Happy holidays, everybody.
All right,
You
so,
too.
Merry
so,
Christmas, Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you.
So, Mr. Edelstein, hold on, two things. One is you'll notice this for the January 27, 2022 hearing, and
We
make
will.
sure we get proof that the taxes are paid up to date. And then I believe before you leave, we wanted to address another matter.
Yes, on the EPTA matter, we're asking that the application be carried to the January meeting without further notice.
So I did have an opportunity, Mr. Chairman, to speak with Mr. Edelstein, and I know Mr. Edelstein's professionals have been working with Mr. Schreck and the town, and it's appropriate to carry that. So I'm making an announcement now to the public that the application for Eptom B&J Holdings on Howard Street is carried to the January 27, 2022 meeting at 7 p.m. without any further notice.
Okay, any questions on that from the board? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Turnbull.
Go.
No, it's Mr. Rooney.
Oh, Mr. Rooney, sorry.
Regarding the property on Mars Street, I was never notified.
Bill, rather Bernie, I did, you popped into my mind when I saw Mars Street. And I looked on the 200-foot list at the applicant, if you have the plan, it's on the cover. And I do not
Yeah.
see you within the 200 feet. Do you think you are within 200 feet?
I live right across the street.
Do you know your lot?
Well, not offhand. It's 245 Mars Street, though. That's 246.
What's-
I mean,
I believe Mr. Rooney is within 200 feet.
Well, certainly that's an issue for the applicant to provide their proof of publication and their proof of notice for me to review to make sure the jurisdictional requirements are met. So I'm sure Mr. Edelstein's appreciative you brought that to his attention. There you go, Mr. Edelstein.
We'll check with the search officer to find out
Yeah,
why.
check. I mean, the closest I see is 252 Mars Street. What's your number, Bernie?
245.
245.
I'm
see
direct-
258.
I'm kind of corner across. You know.
Okay. All right, we'll have to have the applicant check that. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll double check that list. Sorry, I
Yeah.
haven't quite got off yet, but yes. we'll
No,
double-
Bernie, it came to mind as soon as I had the application.
Okay, I just wondered. Yeah, All right, I just wanted to make sure that's, taken care of, clarified.
Thank you.
Anyway, right.
All right,
And I,
Okay.
wait a minute, another question. I mean, as being on the board, can I sit with being that property owner across the street?
Not if you're within 200 feet. No, Bernie.
No, I didn't think so. So
Yeah, you'd have
okay,
to
so I have
recuse
I
yourself.
have to I have to be there from the public. I can speak from the public though, right?
Yes, you can speak from the public.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on. New business, 2000 Rand Boulevard, block 3401, lot 7. Consistency review report, riverfront development plan. Circulation plan element of the master plan.
But these are separate items,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry. Okay, 200 Rand Boulevard, block 3401, lot 7.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Larry Cali on behalf of the applicant. Thanks for having us this evening. I think we'll be relatively brief, Mr. Chairman. We're here for, similar items that we're often here for on these industrial properties, which is a site plan exemption. Shortly, we'll have Mr. Joe Jaworski from Dynamic Engineering, who's the scrivener of record of the plan, testify as to the proposed improvements. We'll go through the board report. Not much is proposed here. And just by way of a brief introduction.
Could you hold 1 second, please?
Sure, certainly.
Kelly, are the taxes up to date?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Mr. Wilhelm, has notification been made?
It's not necessary at this time.
Okay. As long as we're covered. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Not a problem. Two very good inquiries, Mr. Chairman. So again, this is a site plan waiver. It's not even tantamount to a minor site plan. We're here to seek a waiver from site plan for very minimal accessory improvements on this property. All we're doing here is installing a 6-foot chain link fence enclosure and gates around our site, around our structure. No other changes to the site use, no changes to the site intensity. And we've had a benefit of reviewing the board report that issued. We'll be able to answer all the questions through Mr. Jaworski's testimony. Relatively cut and dry vanilla application. And what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, is call Mr. Jaworski. We can swear him in and he can take you through the plan iteration of what's proposed and go through any questions or concerns you might have.
Very good.
So, Mr. Cali, just because we don't have the benefit of Mr. Jaworski's CV, I'm just going to ask you very briefly to go through his credentials, and I'm sure the board will accept him as an expert.
Certainly. And Joe, I see you on camera there now. If you could briefly, Joe, give the board the benefit of your background and credentials.
Well, let me swear him in first. I'm trying to find where he's at.
For me, he's on the bottom center, but I know that doesn't mean
Oh, there
much.
he is.
Yep. He's waving.
Yes. Okay. Hi, sir. He's on mute, so we won't be able to hear him firm here.
Can't hear you, Joe. You're muted. He's a man of few words, Mr. Chairman.
Very good at technology too, huh?
Still don't have you, Joe.
Okay, can you hear us now?
We got you.
Yes.
Yeah, we got you, Joe.
Great.
Mr. Jaworski, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give in this matter will be the truth to the best of your ability, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and Mr. Jaworski, you might have heard me. If we're going to just ask you briefly for your qualifications, and in fact, to make things a little bit easier after the hearing today, if you'd be able to send a CV to Mr. Cali, he could forward to us just for completeness of record, and we'll mark that Ms. Leffler as Exhibit 1.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
1985 graduate of Rutgers University. Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I've testified over the past 35 years throughout the state. I have testified before this board numerous times regarding this project, and my license is in good standing, and I'm familiar with the project.
Mr. Chairman, seems qualified to me, but yeah, the board might have some questions.
Does anybody on the board have a question?
Then I would recommend he be accepted as an expert by the board.
Okay.
Thank you. So Joe, you heard my proffer to the board that we're here for a site plan waiver. We're not doing all that many improvements. We're limited to accessory improvements of the fence and the gate. If you could, Joe, just take the board through what we have on the property today, the limited changes proposed, and then we could sort of, go through the board report line item at your pleasure, Joe.
Sure. What I'd like to do is just bring up the overall site plan, just to familiarize the board again with the project. So this is a colored version of the overall site, which the top half is in Lopakon, the bottom half is in Phillipsburg. And the subject of this application would be Building 5, which is Grace is circling that on the plan. It's the southwest corner of the site, which is building number 5. And then we'll go to the actual plan. So this is the site plan. And again, as Larry pointed out, basically the application is for a 6-foot-high chain link fence around the site. And that will include a main gate at the front driveway, which Grace is going to circle right there. So that'll be the main gate, or there'll be a rolling gate, which will allow the trucks in and out of the site. As you can see on the east side of the building are all of the loading docks and the truck parking. So that'll be the main gate for the trucks to get in and out. And then basically the fence will circulate the whole property, and it's being put up for security purposes. And that's really the application. There's no other improvements other than a small deviation of the radius on the curb in the front, just to allow the trucks to maneuver in and out with a little bit better on that radius. But other than that curb work, it is really just the erection of the fence. We did go through Stan's report, and there were several comments, which I'll just run through quickly. Basically, all the gates will be fitted with a Knox box, and we'll coordinate that with the fire department to make sure there's fire access. The gate will be open during the day from 5:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Those are the operating hours of the facility, and the gate will be closed basically during the nighttime hours, and all the truck schedules will be within the operating hours, 5:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. There will be no landscaping that will be removed or changed with this application, and there'll be no other improvements other than that small curved piece in the front for the trucks. Everything else will remain the same as it was originally approved. The gate, the main gate into the property, which Grace, if you can circle that, is basically set back about 200 feet from the main driveway off Addison. So there's plenty of room for at least a couple, 3 trucks to be there. But again, the gate will be open so the trucks can maneuver in and out of that during the working hours. Stan's report also asked for some signage at the site driveway to direct the trucks to utilize Grand Boulevard. And we will certainly incorporate that signage and work with Stan's office to coordinate that signage for the truck users. There was a comment about some voids with the curbing along the frontage of the site. We did go out there this past Wednesday and check those out. The landscaper did take care of those voids, so everything should be set. If there are any other voids that come up between the curb and landscaping, the applicant will certainly take care of that. And the last piece was the type of fence, chain link fence. It'll be black fence with galvanized posts, and there are some details on the bottom of our plan showing the actual fence and the gates that will be installed. That's all I have, Larry, on direct, unless you have any other questions.
No, I don't, Joe. Mr. Chairman, I'd make Mr. Jaworski available. Any questions you folks may have at this time?
Okay, Stan, did he cover everything you wanted in your review?
Yes, he did, and we've met several times and been gracious to accommodate a site visit to review what was proposed, and we spent considerable time talking about the locations of the gates. We had concerns from experience. We know we get some errant truckers that don't quite know where they're going. We were concerned if a truck would come in there and realize he can't get through the gate and might block the circulation, especially close to the intersection. So they've accommodated an area where they could tuck that truck in, and since such a time we can back them up and maneuver and get them out of the site. And that's why you see that little bit of curb work being done near where the gate is. So yeah, well, they've made every effort to accommodate we thought was necessary to make this work.
Okay. I would like to put in the record that the fire chief, Richard Hay, did put out a letter on October 19th saying that the proposed improvements met with the fire department. The gates are wide enough and location of the gates are acceptable, and the Knox access system, which is mandatory. So does anyone on the board have any questions? Okay. Mr. Wilhelm, is it time for public comment?
No, doesn't, there's no public comment here. I mean, this is a request for a site plan exemption.
Waiver. Yep.
Yeah, waiver. So you can just solicit a motion right now. And if you'd like that, I think you would be looking to solicit a motion to grant the applicant's request for site plan waiver to erect an approximately 6-foot high chain link fence around the identified building, consistent with the submitted plans, the board engineer's letter, and the fire chief's October 19, 2021 letter.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the waiver.
Okay, was that Mr. Penrose?
Yes.
Okay. And a second?
I'll
And
second.
Who was that?
Mr. Brossman.
Brotsman, okay.
You should take a formal vote here.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Kelly, if you could take a call vote.
Mr. Brotzman,
Yes,
Mr. Hanasak,
you're muted, Jim.
Yes.
Mr. Penrose,
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull,
Yes.
Mr. Benjamin, Mayor Trisigne,
Yes.
Mr. Swicker, yes or no?
You're
I see
He-
you.
signaled yes.
Yes. Mr. Duffy,
Yes. Okay,
Mr. Austin, does Mr. Austin and Bernie Rooney vote because the two absent? Or don't they have to?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay.
okay. So the motion passes.
Very
7-0.
good. Thank you, folks. Wishing everybody happy holidays. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Yep.
you.
Take care.
You as well.
Okay. Next. Consistency Review Report, Riverfront Redevelopment Plan.
So, Mr. Chairman, this, in order to have a discussion on this, this needed to be publicly noticed by the board and notice 2 consecutive weeks with the second notice being no less than 10 days prior to the hearing. So today is December 16th. I would have required the second notice to be no later than December 6th and the first notice to be no later than Monday, November 30th. The council did not refer this matter to the board until Wednesday, November 24th in the afternoon, the day before Thanksgiving. It was then forwarded to me by the board secretary, so it was impossible for the notice to be made so that it could be heard for today's meeting. Notice has been prepared and sent out and is in the process of being sent out to all those required to get notice and for publication for the January meeting.
The January 22nd meeting?
27th, correct.
27th?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Okay. Circulation plan element of the master plan.
Yes,
Angela.
so this is just informational, excuse me, I've been sick this week, so my voice is a little bit, lost my voice a little bit. The town received a Highlands grant to prepare a circulation plan element of the master plan. The grant is a reimbursable grant. It was in the amount of $50,000. It's a town-wide comprehensive plan that will look at all modes of transportation and circulation throughout the entire town. Of course, in doing this, we'll factor in new and projected development and redevelopment happening in the town. Specifically, we're looking at how people move around town. We're going to be looking at pedestrian and bicycle safety as well throughout the entire town. We've proposed this project to take approximately 9 to 12 months to complete, and that in our scope has been accepted by the Highlands Council. At the outset of this, we'd like to do a pretty robust public outreach effort. And to kind of start that off, we'd like to form a subcommittee of this board that would include a couple members from this board, because we'd like to try to cast a wider net of volunteers for the subcommittee throughout the town. So, for example, in other communities where we've done this, we've had folks that are bicycle enthusiasts. We've had our local transportation management agency that helped us with some of the public outreach. They were on our subcommittee. We had a county representative. We had folks from the town's environmental commission or green team, student representatives from the high school. So we really want to try to get a lot of folks involved in this. And one of the first things that we'd like to do is what's called a walkability and bikeability audit for the whole town. And given that Phillipsburg is fairly large in area, what we'd like to do is split it up into meaningful neighborhoods, and then have folks within those neighborhoods kind of rally their neighbors to assist with the audits. And what we do is over a course of a few weeks, as we visit each of the neighborhoods, we walk around, we take notes on where there's obstacles in terms of cracked sidewalks, dangerous intersections, missing crosswalks, where ADA ramps might need to be improved, signage, overgrowth. You know, we sort of look for all the things that would make walking or biking difficult in that neighborhood. And so we would do that in each of the neighborhoods throughout the town, and then kind of come back with some recommendations for how to make improvements in each of those neighborhoods. This is just one component of the circulation plan. As I said, we'd also be looking at circulation along the major highways that cross through the town. We'd be looking at circulation and traffic in the downtown area, in the residential neighborhoods, bus service, any kind of mass transportation that's available in the town, what's working, what's not. And so, you know, over the course of several months, we would do all of that. And then at the end of it, prepare a comprehensive circulation plan that makes, shows all of these existing conditions, makes recommendations. And then this board would adopt that plan as part of the town's master plan. And so that's the project. And, very thankful to the Highlands Council for awarding us the funding to do the project. And so we can do it now, or if you want to wait till the new year, if new board members come on, the first step I'd like to take is to form a subcommittee. So, but at this point, I just wanted to make everyone aware of the funding and the project, and we'll just kind of give everyone a heads up that we might be calling on you to volunteer in your neighborhoods. So that was all I really wanted to report on. So thank you.
Thank you.
And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions too.
Does the board have any questions for Angela? No? I think waiting till the new year, once the reorganization takes place, to appoint the subcommittee, I think would be a wise move. Does anyone disagree with that?
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Okay, let's see, what else? Oh, there it is. Okay. Minutes. Minutes from the November 22nd, 2021 meeting. I hear a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Mayor. Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Hanasek, Mr. Hanasek?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any additions, deletions, corrections? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The motion passes.
Mr. Duffy, if we can go back for a moment to the consistency review on the Riverfront redevelopment plan, just so all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. The board needs to, in my view, direct Ms. Knowles to undertake that study if that's what the board so chooses. And so I just want to make sure we didn't miss any steps here. So the town council had referred it to the board. The board can study it. I know there's been some study done before, but normally the board appoints Ms. Knowles, and I think that should be done formally.
You want that done this evening?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no public hearing, but it's brought to us and you can refer it now, and I think it's appropriate to do the preliminary investigation.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any comments towards that on the board?
I will say this, it's mandatory that the board undertake an investigation. We just happen to use Ms. Knowles to do it appropriately. So it has to be done. Let's do it the right way.
I understand. Just making sure.
Yep.
Okay, without any other comments, do I have a motion to have Ms. Knowles begin a preliminary review of the consistency of the Riverfront redevelopment plan?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Penrose, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Brotzman? Okay. Is there any other discussion towards that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. Good luck, Angela. Okay, so we did the minutes. We're at public comment. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes. Please state your name and your address, and Kelly, Ms. Leffler will call on you. Raise your hand, please.
I'm looking through the pages. It does not
Okay.
look like anybody else is on here
Yeah.
to speak.
I
No,
see,
just
I
two.
see
Do you see
Robin.
somebody?
Yes, I see Robin.
I do not see Robin on here.
And Jim Flynn.
Yeah. Okay, Robin, if you could, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I off of mute?
Yeah, you're off of mute. If you state your name and address and.
Hi, Robin Donaldson, 344 South Main Street, Phillipsburg, property owner. I'm here because of the consistency report. I just wanted to, it had come up before about this not being a riverfront property. And I just went through the consistency report, and 29 times it refers to this property as riverfront or riverside or river or, riverfront. I have a really hard time with this project. However, one of the things is being transparent. Okay, right now, the only thing on here is a 510,000 square foot building on this consistency report for anybody to look at it and have a comment. So I was wondering if this itself is going to be updated with whatever the new plan is. That's my question. I can ask a question, right?
You can ask a question.
Okay, so that's my question. Is this going to be updated with that information? So the people that are in this area and the people in town know actually what is being planned for there, because it's not on this report. This is old.
If I'm, and correct me where I'm wrong, Mr. Wilhelm, what is planned for there would come in an application from the developer and would not go into the consistency report.
Well, this is in the consistency report about the 510,000 square foot.
Yeah, I would just say to you, ma'am, that I don't think the chairman can answer your questions. You're looking at an old consistency report. There's going to be a new one as the board authorized Ms. Knowles to go forward today, and that would be appropriately discussed at the January 27 meeting.
Okay, so this board, I'm kind of new to going to these meetings, so I just want to be clear. This board here would not be voting on that before the public gets to say something and to see the consistency report. Would that be correct?
You would be correct that on January 27th, there will be opportunity for public comment.
Okay, before there's any vote taken.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I guess that's really all I could say at this point.
Okay. Thank you. James, iPhone.
Hello, Mr. Duffy. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you. Please state your name and address.
This is James Flynn, 414 First Street, Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Can I buy an extra 5 minutes?
No.
I just wanted to, just an FYI for you and the board. I'd just like to make a comment on 150 Fleming Avenue, the proposed 80 to 90 unit complex. I ran into Mr. Reagan yesterday. He was perusing the property, and I had a comment. We had a little talk, and I asked him if there's any reason why anyone in this neighborhood would have reason to even think about his project in this residential area, to please give me a call. So he's got my contacts as far as me being a resident of the town of Phillipsburg. And I don't think the board was privy to this yet, but I think everyone on town's council, because I don't have all your contacts or information, but pretty much everyone from Warren Street, First Street, Wilson Street, and Railroad Avenue have all signed petitions, which I had walked around and had them sign. Pretty much this whole section of Firth Town, which I didn't walk far enough. I didn't get the 300 block of Firth Town yet. There isn't one person that is in favor of that project. If it were residential or something like that, being between the Roseberry House, the school, and the Firth Youth Center. It's ludicrous. It's a crazy idea. This is FYI, you know, I really don't think it fits in this neighborhood. It should be part of the park, youth center, or it's just crazy. And with the traffic as it is, there, I can promise you right now, there's half the people said if they even consider this or try to build it, they're moving out of town. A lot of them are upon my polling of 4-block area. And I didn't even get into the 300 block or Heckman Street yet with my petition. But town council has been privy to my petitions passed out and submitted to you. Oh, to them. I don't know if you guys, any of you guys have seen that yet. But I think it's just my thought. And like I said, I spoke to Mr. Reagan myself yesterday. He was perusing the property with state government vehicle, and I don't know who else has accompanied him. But I flagged him down. And he stopped and spoke to me, and I gave my phone number. And I just asked him, I says, if you have any reason why anybody in this neighborhood would accept what you're proposing, please call me. So, I mean, that was just yesterday. Maybe he has something to offer me, but I don't think. Like I say, I speak for a lot of people. There's at least 70, 65, 70, 75 people. And that's just within, that's Firth Town itself. And that's where we're proposing this project. Thank you for your time and consideration on this matter. And Merry Christmas and good, happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Okay. Teresa, if you'd unmute yourself, state your name and address.
Sure. Teresa Chapman, 362 Brainerd's Road, Phillipsburg, New Jersey. When will the updated consistency review plan be available for the public to review?
No less than 10 days prior to the hearing. And the hearing's the 27th, so no later than January 17.
And will it be posted on the website?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm not seeing anyone else. Kelly, do you see anyone else?
No, I do not.
Okay, then I'm going to close public comment. There's no reason for executive session. Does anyone have anything for the good of the board? From the board.
I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a prosperous 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Same here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Mayor, second? Second, guys. Mr. Brodsman, thank you. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
against? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.